Today's project is a key holder, which came about because I had no my keys. So to make this project, we are using the Ledger stencil from Roycycled, the farm animal Roycycled decoupage paper, some hooks, which I had from an old locker, and an 8 by 10 project board from IOD. The reason I use a project board is because these locker hooks are pretty thick and they would need somewhere to go into where there would be a thick piece of wood, and the project boards are perfect for that because they have that frame built into the background. So the first thing we did, as usual, we got to seal that board. So we're painting it with some white chalk paint. Once that's done and dried, it's time for the fun part. So one side has chickens and the other side of this paper is these really cute young calves, and that is what I'm going to use. Now, you can tell that my paper is much bigger than my board, so I'm kind of feeling exactly where I want to have it, and I'm making little creases before I go ahead and start cutting it out. And of course, I'm saving as much of that paper as I can because I can use it for another project. I am using I want to make sure that I leave a little white space because I definitely want to put this ledger stencil on this board somewhere. So I'm trying to center my calves so I have enough room for that without losing any of the design. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and lightly spritz my paper with some water. It will allow the paper to relax, but it also allows it to begin stretching so that I don't have as many wrinkles when I go ahead and varnish it down. And I spray the front, not the back, because I do not want to dilute my varnish. Again, I'm using Wise Owl varnish for my decoupage medium. Be really gentle with your paper. Once it's dampened, it is very easily ripped. And you'll see what happens. I actually rip it a little bit because apparently there's a big blob of paint underneath there that I did not get off when I was painting, and it was so sharp it went ahead with the paper. So I just pushed the paper back down because I couldn't get that um, paint piece off. And then let the whole thing dry. Once it was dry, I could do my stenciling. So I am just going to do the Highland Farm, which is the top part of this stencil, and then I'm going to move the stencil around the rest of the piece to kind of just have some background. And I'm not going to add any more paint because I really want it to be very soft and very light in the background. Just that little bit of stenciling, that script just makes such a big difference in the background. It just pulls it all together. I think I have room for just a little bit more. Again, I'm not going to put any more paint on that brush. I just want it to be really soft and subtle in the background. Hold my stencil really firmly so it doesn't move. And then when I was off camera, I actually added a little bit more numbers to the other side of the cap, the other side of the board, and from the same stencil, the ledger stencil. Now it's time to get rid of that excess paper. I take a 220 piece of sandpaper and just rub it one way, right on the edge. Comes off pretty easily. Okay, now that that's all cleaned up, I am going to add a little bit of a border. So I take my ink, my permanent ink, this is IOD permanent ink, and I'm just going to go around the edge, kind of pull it in like a frame. Now, because this already has a top coat on it, you'll notice that the ink does not come out as dark. The varnish just doesn't, it's not like the chalk paint where you really have, it comes out really dark. So I'm going to go around a couple times and then actually I'm going to come back and do it again just to get a nice, it's kind of like a deep gray. And I also painted the sides of the holder with black, the same black paint that I used for my stencil. And now we got to use those locker hooks. They didn't look too great, so I decided I was going to spray paint them. So I had my husband just attach them to a board so that we could um, use the spray paint to get on all the sides of it and only have to do it once. Then it's time to screw them in. So I put marks on the board and there I am telling him, "Make you sure you're at the right mark?" And he has to lift it up and check it again. But there we are. Yep, right mark. Time to screw that hook in. He was trying to be careful and not over screw it and strip the screw, but had to screw it down really tight because you only have one screw with these hooks. And there it is, one, two, three, and all of the hooks are attached. Now, the reason it is I use an 8 by 10 project block is because I have 11 inches where I am going to put this key holder. So it fits perfect.